Welcome to the official Jets podcast. Eric Allen here at One Jets Drive, joined by Mike North, the Vice President of Broadcast Planning for the National Football League. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. You are a busy man. I got to imagine you're feeling quite good now that the grind is done.
You know, it's interesting, Eric. I think I said this to you guys last year. It's both kind of the best and worst day of the year. It's almost like that line in City Slickers where they were asking him, his favorite day and his worst day. Look, it's obviously culmination of a long process and a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of panic and anxiety, a lot of Mountain Dew and jelly beans. Obviously, really happy to have the project, finished and out to the fans. But also, you always worry on a day like today, what did we miss? What is somebody going to point to that maybe we weren't prepared for? We talked to the teams yesterday, the network partners today, and, everybody gets something, nobody gets everything. So always just trying to learn and see what was, the hot button issues for both the teams and the partners, and trying to figure out what was really important that we might have missed, or maybe what we did well, or maybe over delivered, and how to adjust this process moving forward.
Let's get into it right here. I'm going to get into a bunch of specifics with you, but bottom line, the National Football League all in on the New York Jets this year. 6 primetime games, 7 standalone contests.
Yeah, look, this time last year, they were the story of the offseason, you can make a case. And, what's really changed? I know the quarterback's a year older and coming off a major injury, but certainly well rested. And it seems to us like the team only got better. So if we were all in last year, I think we're all in again. And, it's not even us, right? It's the fans. What do the fans care about? What are they most interested in seeing? And I think if you talk to most fans, and certainly as we talk to our media partners, one of the key storylines of the year clearly is, the Aaron Rodgers experience that we got robbed of last year, man. Nobody saw, only 4 plays coming from last season. So I feel like we're, just kind of run it back. 12 months ago, we were all in. I'm not sure really what's changed. So to the extent that, the Jets think they're going to be good, the last time we saw this guy play quarterback, he was playing at an MVP level. I think it's safe to say we are bullish. If not on the Jets playoff chances, certainly on the fan interest in, Aaron Rodgers, certainly through the first, let's call it 8 or 9 weeks of the season. And then from that point on, once you get to the second half, you're less about storylines and, playing against your old team and how are you going to adjust to a new coach or a new offensive coordinator. Second half of the season's really just about playoff implications. So tell the stories early and then really let the standings dictate what matters late.
Mike, bottom line, I think this is historic because you're talking about the Jets 6 primetime games within 11 weeks and then 4 home primetime games in 9 weeks. We've been doing some research around here. I haven't seen anything like that throughout the league.
Yeah, look, some of it comes with the addition of, more primetime windows. So we've got, kind of more mouths to feed, whether it's those side-by-sides for ABC and ESPN on Monday Night Football. Obviously, the standalone game in London with the trip to the UK. Those are becoming more prevalent. There's probably going to be 7 or 8 of them maybe next year. You look down the stretch, obviously we added some new windows here with our little Christmas round robin. So, the days when you had 7, 8, 9 games being played on each of, CBS and Fox on a Sunday afternoon, and the vast majority of our games being played at 1 o'clock. That's not really where this project is going. That's not really where fan consumption is going. So we've got a lot more mouths to feed, a lot more national windows, and therefore the teams that are most interesting to our fans and to our partners are probably going to find themselves in, 1 or 2 more national windows now than they probably would have.
Let's start at week 1. Why were the Jets and the 49ers so attractive to you guys? Monday Night Football for a second consecutive season for the Jets opener.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of schedules that we looked at where we were literally just going to run it back. Buffalo Jets again, week 1 on Monday night. We looked at Jets Dolphins for Monday night, and I shouldn't say it was locked in on Monday night. There's, as you well know, the Giants are celebrating their 100th season, and so one of the things that they were thinking about was, hey, how about week 1 at home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? We can bring back some of the alumni. Those alumni events get a little harder as you get later in the day, and past some of us old guys, dinner time and bedtime. So Once we kind of got our mind around maybe the Giants at home Sunday of 1 o'clock of week one, then you start thinking about what do you want to do with that Jets first game and obviously Aaron Rodgers' second first game as a Jets quarterback. We looked at schedules where, they might have found themselves on the road on a Sunday afternoon, maybe at Tennessee or Jacksonville, and then come home in week two and be that first Amazon Thursday night game. Didn't seem right maybe to have that first game of the season kind of be buried in a window with, say, 8 or 9 other games. Like, I think that's one of the ones that the fans want to see. So Sunday night was an option. Certainly looked at that. Monday night, obviously an option. And you think about what ESPN and the Disney family can bring to kind of amplify a week one storyline like that. The game will be simulcast on ESPN and ABC. Last year they had a game, pretty sure it was Philly, Kansas City, that Super Bowl rematch. When you simulcast on both of those networks like that, you're approaching 29, 30 million people, watching a game. That shows you that if the fans want to find it, they can. So, like I said, it could have been Jets Dolphins, it could have been Jets Bills, it could have been Jets Jaguars or Jets Steelers, but Jets Niners sounds like a pretty awesome week one game, and looking forward to seeing what ESPN can do with a whole day's worth of promotion and build up. And that one, wouldn't say we locked it in, but once you started seeing it, started to get real comfortable with
Is that something that computers spit out on their own, or is that something that you look at and say, oh, okay, we're targeting this from the get? We know this is an attractive matchup. The 49ers just appeared in the Super Bowl, narrowly lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime, second time in 4 years. You got so many connections in this game. Aaron Rodgers coming back.
Yep.
Northern California kid who went to Cal Berkeley, of course. A lot of history there from his days with the Packers playing against the 49ers. You got Robert Saleh, former defensive coordinator there under Kyle Shanahan. And the list goes on and on.
Yeah, look, the answer to your question is the way we look at it is all 272 of these matchups have value, clearly. And which ones do the fans most want to see, and therefore shouldn't find themselves in windows where the most fans can't get to them. So did we tell the computer put Jets San Fran Monday night of week one? No. Did we tell the computer Jets San Fran is a big one? And it really needs to be Sunday night, Monday night. Could have been a 4:25 Eastern time game on CBS or Fox. We looked at it for, some of the holiday weekends, maybe. Like, the computer should know, we should know that Jets Niners game was just too big to kind of, just another game, 4:05 Eastern time in week 8, opposite a Fox doubleheader game at 4:25 featuring the Cowboys. Like, that's not the right use of that asset. So did we tell the computer put it in week 1 on Monday night? No. Did we tell the computer make sure we get maximum value out of a game like that? Yes. And so as the computer spins around through the infinite solution space and starts throwing back options to the scheduling team, which we then bring to our boss, Hans Schroeder, which he then brings to his boss, Roger Goodell. Like I said, you would have been thrilled with a Jets Dolphins, a Jets Bills on Monday night, but Jets Niners, it feels like maybe a step up, a little tick higher. And as you kind of build out this historic opening weekend where we're going to be playing games on Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, that's a lot of football. That Monday night game really needs to be something to kind of bookend and still have everybody eager to get to when you get to Monday night. And again, you think about the ESPN family of, media personalities, and they'll be talking about it starting first thing in the morning with Stephen A and going all the way through with ESPN radio and all day long on all their platforms. I'm not sure if it's a Manning cast, but I suspect it will be. Like, that's an awful lot of people talking about a big game. Hopefully that culminates with, 20, 25, 30 million people getting in front of their televisions at 8 o'clock on that Monday night. And then hopefully the game is competitive and comes down to the wire, one score game in the fourth quarter. That's the recipe for good ratings.
We all know it's a changed landscape, and you just mentioned it before, but what goes into the thinking as far as week 2, the Jets go back on the road on a short week against Tennessee. That will be the first time since 2017, since back-to-back road games. That's not really an anomaly in the National Football League. But then week 3, the home opener, Thursday night against New England. So ultimately, Mike, as you know, 3 games in 10 days for the Jets to start the season.
Yeah, this is common, frankly, at this point in the season. Talked to the Jets a lot about this yesterday and today. If you're going to get hit with that sort of 3 games in 10 days stretch, probably better to catch it early in the season. You're probably rested. We had that bye week between the end of preseason and start of regular season. We looked at a lot, not just where the games were being played, but who the games were against. Nobody knows anything in this league, obviously, but if you come out of the gate with, 3 teams that all made the playoffs last year, even if they're all 3 at home, is that better? And we talked a lot about, that Jets Patriots game kind of September. Did we target it as the home opener? Not necessarily, but it felt good for our friends at Amazon to have that Jets Patriots game. It's in the run of a bunch of really good division games to kind of start their season. So, look, 3 games in 10 days, never easy, but I know the Jets fans won't believe this, but they weren't singled out. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think there's 6 such occasions this season where teams play on Monday, Sunday, Thursday. And you've all seen now we announced we're playing Christmas games this year on Wednesday. So that's 4 teams playing Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday. So this is just kind of the new normal for the NFL right now. We'll obviously have conversations with all the teams, all our football people, competition committee, player health and safety. Don't ever want to do anything that is, either patently unfair or unsafe. But again, I think for the Jets fans wondering why they got singled out, they really didn't. It's happened quite a bit across the league this year. And again, you could make an argument that maybe early in the season, better than having something like that hit you after Thanksgiving.
Can you speak to the new normal as far as the Jets? I think over the first 11 games prior to the Week 12 bye, they will not have consecutive weeks of the same amount of days in between those games.
Yeah. Look, again, I think that's probably a byproduct of just where we play our games now, right?
Yeah.
We're playing games on Thursday. We have, a season-long Thursday slate. It wasn't that long ago, we only had half a season of Thursdays, and it wasn't that long ago we only played on Thanksgiving on Thursdays. So, you've got a Thursday night schedule every year. These international games are here to stay. And like we said, becoming more prevalent. I think we might be looking at half the teams in the league next year playing an international game. Ideal, probably not from a coaching standpoint, but, you think about a coach who's been here a couple of years. You think about a quarterback that's been in the league a long time. Maybe it's something that a team like that might overcome, as opposed to a team, with a new coach, a new quarterback, trying to implement a new system, stuff like that. Can we be that discerning about, hey, every team in the league's got to have X many number of weeks where they play Sunday to Sunday? You almost kind of back yourselves into a corner that way, too, because if you're Sunday to Sunday every week, you're going to end up playing somebody who's coming off their Thursday or coming off their bye. And now, are they more rested, and are you disadvantaged that way? This is a constant evolving process. We're really fortunate that the computers and the hardware and the software and our partners are, kind of joined with us in lockstep, always thinking about how to make this process better, how to innovate, how to be smarter, how to use the resources we have a little more smartly. And if we learn that, hey, Monday, Sunday, Thursday, we really shouldn't do because on the back end of that stretch, Team X finishes with a lower expected win percentage, like it'll be something we adjust moving forward. But again, I think the way the league is going now, where you think about some of these new windows, some of these new partners, this is really a way to try to feed our fans, voracious appetite for more NFL football. You play 8 or 9 games on a Sunday afternoon at 1:00, you can't watch them all. Whereas you start to spread them out a little bit. And now, in the league this year, we're playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's almost like the COVID year where we just had to kind of figure it out as we went. The fans are going to tell us if this is too much, if this is too many games in national windows and they just can't watch them all, they'll tell us. But I don't think we've hit that inflection point yet. And I think, we're all going to have to adjust a little bit, both in our viewing habits and really in the team's preparation.
So you got Rodgers back. You think this is a very talented roster, no doubt about that. Let me ask you about New England, the home opener, September 19th. The Bills, October 14th. Then, of course, after that, Houston on Halloween, and then followed by 2 weeks later, Indianapolis, November 17th. All games at MetLife Stadium. Obviously, you think the Jets are going to be a contending team early, at least early, and you guys, the way you have this schedule, hey, listen, this team could be a winner down the line. But how much do you take into account game presentation and maybe what the Jets did last year as far as that atmosphere when you take it all in and say, hey, listen, we're going to give this team not just a couple of home games at night, but 4 home games at night because, yes, they're going to be good on the field, but also they bring it in terms of their presentation.
Yeah, look, this is for those of us who go to stadiums every weekend, lucky enough to be in the building, there's nothing like being in an NFL stadium. Just the buzz leading up to kickoff and then the noise and the lights and the sound and the music. I hate to keep going back to that Buffalo game last year where Aaron went out after 4 plays, but, despite a real pall over the building there, still turned out to be maybe one of the most exciting games and one of the most exciting finishes really we had all season long. And I just remember, the touchdown at the end with the lights flickering and the noise and everybody going crazy. It was a fun place to be. Can we capture that emotion in the stadium so that it comes through the television screen? We talk a lot about, when we play these games in Germany, in England, when you watch, those European soccer games and they're just singing the whole time and there's just so much noise and it's just a buzz. Can we capture that? Can we get some of that, for our game in our country? And can that really, like we said, kind of come through the television screen and make you feel like you're there? And the cameras are so good. You're literally looking into the guy's helmet. The mics are incredible. I mean, we are hearing conversations that we never used to hear before, on television, almost live. There's no question. MetLife is an iconic venue for this league. Hosted a Super Bowl not that long ago. I suspect we'll host another Super Bowl at some point. Every Jets and Giants game is an event. They're bigger, when they're at night. They're bigger when they're under the lights. They're bigger when they're in prime time. And you also think about some of the rivalries. You mentioned, New England coming to town, Buffalo coming to town. Those are big games no matter when we play them. But to kind of slide them into that nighttime slot, there's a buzz not just in, the stadium, but really in the whole city, right? In Jersey, in Manhattan, everybody knows Bills Jets tonight, Bills Jets tonight. There's people taking off work. There's people getting on the train, getting out there, filling the parking lots. It's a full day. And that's something really kind of special that this league has when you're playing that night game and you can turn it into a day-long event. Because at the end of the day, right, it's only 3 hours of football and only 60 minutes of actual action, but it's a day-long celebration. And yeah, there's no question, the way the Jets and the Giants really have made the big event feel for a game at MetLife, that translates through the television screen, and that becomes something that our television partners, when we're meeting with them kind of early in the scheduling process, and they're targeting the games that they would love to see on their schedule. There's a lot of Jets and Giants home games, and there's a lot of Jets and Giants games that ended up at MetLife in prime time this season.
7 standalones. That includes the Jets playing the Vikings in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium over there in London. What do you think about the Jets product going overseas, going across the pond again?
Yeah, look, this was one of the ones where our UK office, they tell us every year, we've got our designated teams. Those are decided more by a rotation and by whichever conference has the extra home game. So we knew we were sending, Minnesota over, Chicago over, Jacksonville goes regularly, Carolina, was going over to Germany. Once that part's known, then we kind of work with our international department and try to figure out, okay, here are the home opponents for those teams. Which ones kind of make sense? Which one move the needle? Which ones are going to be most well received? 10, 15 years ago, when did we start London? 2006, I think. So almost 20 years now. It was still kind of new and people were buying tickets more out of curiosity. And you might remember, like, they cheered way too much for punts. Like, they were still learning our game. The fan over there has evolved. It's beyond just like, oh, here's any random NFL game now. Thank you for your patronage. They know. They really do. And they want to see the biggest games. They want to see the biggest stars. And they want to see the biggest brands. And it was always interesting to me to go to a London game and you might have 2 teams playing each other. But if you look through the stands, there's jerseys from 32 other teams, 30 other teams, I should say. Always a lot of Jets jerseys. Yeah. In the stands in the London game. So that was top of the list. And to their credit, the Jets were willing and eager is a stretch, certainly at the ownership level. Obviously, he's got a history over there. But, when a team raises their hand, that certainly helps us because you think about the promotion, the going over early, opening your practices, doing fan events. I think it's going to be a really fun week for the Jets over there. And yeah, our international department was thrilled to see that that's the game that landed there.
Does the club still have an option to take a bye following the London game, or that no longer exists?
That's something we talk about with everybody. The challenge for us, at least for the teams going over to the UK, is we're trying to work around, the international soccer schedule. You mentioned it's a Tottenham, so we're working around the Tottenham schedule. You're working around Wembley's availability, whether the English national team is playing a soccer game there. So we try to work around the international breaks for the European soccer leagues, and those tend to happen kind of earlier in our season. So you're thinking about a week 5, week 6 game. Do you really want your bye that
Right.
early? And, the teams have become so accustomed, I think, to these international games now. We're playing most of them in the afternoon over there, which is morning time over here. I think the Jets are going to be back at Newark Airport probably earlier after that Tottenham game than they will, when they play Seattle, or obviously after they play San Francisco on a Monday night. So these European games are becoming a lot more routine, and you're definitely seeing more clubs opting out of the bye week. Just bring us home to a home game. We'll just stay in our routine, and then we'll take that bye later when, maybe that rest period might be a little bit more well received.
Yeah, I actually think it ends up 3 long weeks for the Jets and then 4 short weeks. But after they get back from London, you guys have them hosting the Bills on Monday Night Football. So you get that extra day. And then on the return, interesting matchup, Sunday Night Football, the Jets going to Pittsburgh. So another short week there.
Yeah, and again, you could argue it both sides, right? The extra day coming back from London helps, but then shorten the week as you head to Pittsburgh for a big game. It's hard to look at it just on a one day here and there, coming off a Monday, coming off a Saturday, whatever it is. We tried to look at it more holistically, like where are the breaks in the Jets schedule where they can get rested, get healthy. You've got the 2 Thursdays, so you get what we call the mini bye, where you get kind of 10 days off before the next game. You got the extra day, like you mentioned, coming out of the London game, and the bye fell all the way down there in what, week 12? I mean, for a team that thinks they're going to be playoff relevant, you get that week 12 bye, you kind of get rested, you kind of get everybody healthy, you kind of reset, and then you're hopefully rested and healthy for that run to the playoffs. I always think about that first time we did week 14 buys. It was the first year we expanded the season out to 18 weeks, and Tom Brady had moved on to Tampa. They had one of the very first week 14 buys that this league's ever done. And if I remember correctly, I think they were kind of reeling. I think they might have been 6-6. They had just gotten beat by maybe Cincinnati or Kansas City or something. They went into a week 14 bye. They came out healthy and rested and ran the table for regular season, for postseason, and won a Super Bowl. So I think if I'm the coach of the Jets, I like that week 12 bye. Your point is well taken. Just there's no real routine in those early weeks, but hopefully there's a couple of, kind of rest periods where they can catch their breath. They can get healthy if they've had some injuries, obviously, hopefully not to their quarterback again. And then kind of get into that routine kind of down the stretch in December when obviously everybody's playing for playoff position.
Any consideration going back to back, having the Jets play at San Fran and then coming back and playing at Arizona, and the teams, including the Jets, reach out to you guys and say, hey, listen, we do have interest in doing that, because obviously you're not going to be able to take in everybody's requests and accommodate 32 teams.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier about the new normal. There's an awful lot of mouths to feed. There's an awful lot of television and media partner obligations to work around. We've got minimum commitments to each of our broadcast partners on a team-by-team appearance basis. There's stadium availability issues. You think about a Jets and Giants sharing a building like that. As soon as you take one weekend out of the mix for a concert or whatever else is going on in that building, that just kind of gluts up what's left. And so you end up seeing like the Sunday Monday or the Thursday Sunday, which I know is tough on the staff at MetLife. But yeah, look, the Jets were open to playing the San Fran and Arizona games in back-to-back week. I'm not sure weeks 1 and 2 was exactly what they had in mind once we sort of kind of gotten around to Jets San Fran in week 1. I think if the Jets San Fran and Arizona games had found themselves paired up in like weeks 13 and 14, even that probably wouldn't have worked. I don't think they would have wanted to go out and stay over the holiday. So yeah, they were willing to pair. Other teams raised their hand. Miami, the Chargers, Arizona, San Francisco, Los Angeles, anybody with those long trips,
Well,
raise their hand willing to pair. But I'm not sure we're in a position where we could say, I guarantee you we're going to pair them. The interesting thing for us is just trying to figure out which of these requests from the teams that we can acquiesce to end up having an impact, not just on the overall schedule, hey, if we do that we can't do this, but also on the competitive inequities. Like, is it fair for a team to get a cross country trip pairing like that, stay out west, practice, save themselves that extra ping ponging travel? If you do it for the Jets, do you have to also do it for the Dolphins when they go to the Rams in Seattle? Like, still kind of wrestling down whether there's a real competitive impact on that. Totally understand, the Jets' willingness to do it. And did we see schedules where their long trips were paired? Yes. Did we see one where they were paired in weeks 1 and 2? No.
what do we have to know here, Mike, about flexible scheduling in 2024? Because after the bye, the Jets, right now, it's set up for 5 1 o'clock games. They host Seattle December 1, at Miami December 8th, at Jacksonville December 15th, and then home to the Rams on the 22nd, and then at Buffalo on December 29th. All those games scheduled for 1 o'clock right now.
All against pretty good teams too that we
Yep.
think are going to be playoff relevant. So I think the honest answer to your question is, everything's kind of written in pencil. All those games down the stretch, that's where flexible scheduling really kicks in, not just for Sunday nights anymore, but for Monday nights. We did our first Monday night flex last season with that Seattle Philly game moving to a Monday night. Thursday night has a component of flex. That one's going to be a little tougher to forecast because understanding the changes to not just the fans, but the teams and their travel and their charter and their hotel. We're going to make a Thursday flex decision 4 weeks out, a Monday flex decision 2 weeks out, and a Sunday flex decision as short as 1 week out. So I think the honest answer to your question is if the Jets are as good as they think they are, or as they're going to be, and the teams that they're playing down the stretch right there are also playoff relevant, you're certainly going to have to be nimble. We're never hiding the ball here. I think we're pretty honest, pretty transparent, with our fans and with our clubs about, hey, look, that particular weekend, the Sunday night game we all thought was going to be great has kind of fallen apart on us. But look at that Jets game at 1 o'clock. It's a definite candidate to move into a more high profile window. Maybe not even all the way to prime time at 8 o'clock at night on
Right.
Sunday or Monday, but even to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon. Just if those are the games that matter the most to our fans, we should try to find a way to get them into a television window that's more available to them.
But put those babies in pencil as far as the 6 prime time and the 7 standalone in London. That's definitely happening against the Vikings. You could have more primetime games in December.
Yes. Yes. And it wouldn't be reckless. It wouldn't be cavalier. It wouldn't be haphazard. We got to be sensitive to where were you the week before? Where are you going to be the week after? How many times is this for not just your team, but your fans to come out to MetLife? Like, hopefully these kind of early season primes when the weather's still nice.
Yep.
And, what better way to spend an October day than in the parking lot all day throwing a ball and then go watching primetime football? That part sounds great. Fully acknowledge maybe it's a little different calculus if we're talking about, week, whatever it is, 16, 17, where it might be a little chilly for that Rams Jets game if we decide to take that out of a 1 o'clock window and move it into a primetime window. But those games are important to CBS and Fox as well, right? We can't just take all the best games and put them in primetime and have Sunday afternoon just be, hey, whatever's left over. Like, those are important windows for us too. There's 10, 18 million fans watching on a Sunday afternoon as well. So having a big game in a 1 o'clock window, you might actually find yourself distributed to 60, 65, 70% of the country. Maybe we don't have to move you to prime in order to get more fans to watch the game that matters the most that weekend.
How much did Christmas scheduling impact you guys this year? And was there consideration of putting the AFC East in that slot? And actually, it impacts not just Christmas, right? Because those teams who are playing on Christmas are ultimately going to end up playing that preceding Saturday.
You got it. We play Sunday to Thursday all the time. If we're going to play on a Wednesday, which I'm not sure we thought we were going to when we started this process, but Saturday to Wednesday, it's akin to Sunday to Thursday. So, yeah, were the Jets in the conversation? Maybe really early. I mean, the challenge here is that, like you said, you're playing a bit of a round robin, right? You got to find 4 teams that you believe in that are going to be playoff relevant in weeks 16 and 17 of the NFL season. It's May. I mean, what do any of us know? but you got to find 4 teams that we think are going to be playoff relevant, worthy of 2 national television windows each, and all happen to play each other. So the division kind of made sense. If you could find a division where you thought all 4 teams were going to be playoff relevant down the stretch like that, looked at maybe like an AFC North where all 4 of those teams were kind of in it all the way through down the end. Maybe you could play 2 or 3 teams from a certain division and see if they pair up with somebody else. Obviously, you talk about Jets San Francisco. Buffalo travels out. San Francisco actually comes to Buffalo. So we thought, could there be a Jets, Niners, Buffalo, Miami, maybe round robin in there somewhere? That's a lot of travel, though, for a short week. Not sure we should ask the Jets to go to San Fran on a short week or San Fran to come to Buffalo on a short week. So really tried to kind of thread a really narrow needle there. Were the Jets in the conversation early? Yeah, they were. But where we landed on Christmas did not end up utilizing the AFC East there. But yeah, it was a unique challenge. And look, this problem never gets any easier. But again, our fans have spoken. They want to see NFL games on Christmas. So kind of had to figure out a way to thread that Wednesday needle. And I think we did it pretty elegantly.
What made this process unique, 2024, as far as this schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you what probably made it most unique for us was, it's sports, right? None of us know anything. It's May. Who knows which of these games are going to be playoff relevant? I still think back to this time last year, we were all in on the New York Jets and we were all out on the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
The Texans didn't have a single national game at all last year. So maybe a little hedge this year. Every team's got at least one national window where, hey, if you do surprise us, at least there's a chance for the fans to see you. And then again, you work your way toward the back end of the season. That's where flexible scheduling kind of kicks in. And for the teams that have, surprised us or played their way into prime time or played their way into more, national television windows, that's where we'll pull some levers. But exacerbated, challenged a little bit by the fact that, you do have these 2 Saturday games now leading into the Christmas round robin. You do have these 3 games on Saturday in week 17. You do have the side-by-side Monday night games. You do have all these extra international games. Like we're thinning out the pool pretty quick and still trying to feed an awful lot of mouths. So process never gets any easier, but relish the challenge and honored to be a part of it.
I like the way it shapes up from a Jets perspective with the Rodgers in these primetime games, because you mentioned C.J. Stroud and the Texans before. They weren't quite on your radar last year, but they won the AFC South. So now you have them coming to MetLife. It's kind of like the old guard versus these new young arms. And then how about Anthony Richardson as well? Yep. So can you talk about how you guys take that all in and think about the changing storylines?
Yeah, you think about a team like Houston that we didn't see coming. You think about a team like Indianapolis, lost Richardson, and we're still playoff relevant all the way, I believe, to week 18 last year, right, with Gardner under center. So, you've got young quarterbacks, and you've sort of seen a pattern in this league, year 2, year 3, when they start to get it and everything kind of slows down for them. And we can still tell some of the stories of some of the young quarterbacks that just got drafted, whether it's in Washington or New England or obviously in Chicago. So, like we said, storylines kind of early in the season, playoff implications late in the season. And I think you hit it right on the head. There's storylines really with every Jets game, assuming Aaron's under center, and we are sure hoping he is. There's storylines with every Jets game, and really looking forward to seeing how it plays out, and hope the fans are excited to see it tonight.
A busy man. We appreciate your time. You got any golf on the horizon?
I don't know what you're talking about. But thank you for having me on. Pleasure. Always happy to talk to you guys. And you know what? Maybe let's connect again kind of mid-season. Let's see when we get through.
We will do that.
Let's see how we get through the first 8-week gauntlet, and let's see where we are maybe during the bye week and talk again and see if we can do some aim-high steering about which of those games in December might be candidates for a flex scheduling.
Much like you in December, we're going to pencil you in.
Everything's in pencil, my man. Good to see you, Eric. Take care.